Welcome back, second grade scholars. Today is Friday, May 29th, 2020. And today I want to share with you the last accessory that I'm going to share with you for accessory week. And this belongs to my daughter. This is a headband that has like yarn to make it look like hair. And this was a part of my daughter's Halloween costume, where this year she was Abby from Sesame Street, one of her favorite Sesame Street characters. Of course, she loves Elmo too. And even though she wore this for Halloween last October, she actually loves to dress up and wear this and put this on her head. She also tries to put it on my head, but it's a little bit too small for me. Awesome. So please keep sending in your hat and accessory pictures to Miss Hammond, to your teachers, and post them on our parent Facebook group if you want. Great. Today, we are going to jump into another lesson on perimeter. In fact, we're going to be spending the next couple of days going over perimeter. Yesterday, we learned that perimeter represents the distance around a shape or object. And to calculate, that means to figure out what the perimeter is, you have to add up all of the sides. So yesterday, we practiced this with quadrilaterals. Those are our four-sided shapes. Today, we're going to practice it with non-quadrilaterals. What I mean by that is we're going to practice figuring out the perimeter of shapes that have either less than or more than four sides. So in our problem today, it's asking us to figure out what is the perimeter of this hexagon. How many sides does a hexagon have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we're figuring out the perimeter of this hexagon, that means we have to figure out the distance around this entire shape. So I'm going to draw those arrows just like I did yesterday. Figuring out the total distance. This is what you're going to be working on by yourself for your problem solving task. When you are done, I want you to pause the video so that you can work on this, and when you're done, unpause the video and we'll go over it. Go ahead and pause the video. Great. I hope you have had a chance to figure out the perimeter of this hexagon. Now, we know perimeter means the distance around the entire shape, and in order for us to figure that out, we have to add up all of the sides. Because we're working with a hexagon, we are going to need to add up all 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I am going to move this up a little bit so I have some more space to solve. And we are going to write our number sentence first, starting with my first side. So 10 centimeters plus 7 plus 7 plus 10 plus 7 plus 7, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It makes sense that I'm adding 6 numbers because a hexagon has 6 sides, and to figure out a perimeter, I need to add up all of the sides. So I have my 6 sides here. Now I'm going to rearrange this number sentence so that my largest numbers comes first and then my smallest numbers follow. So I have 10 plus 10 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals something. Again, we talked about yesterday how when you are rearranging your number sentence, it's also really helpful because it will give you your doubles. If you have any doubles facts, they'll be next to each other, so it'll be easier for you to solve. So 10 plus 10 equals 20. 7 plus 7 equals 14. And then I have another doubles fact of 7 plus 7, which we know is 14. Great. So now I have these 3 numbers that I need to add together. 14 plus 14, that's a doubles fact. 10 plus 10 is 20. 4 plus 4 is 8, so 14 and 14 make 28. Now I can add 20 to 28 to get my perimeter. Well, 20, or 2 more groups of 10, plus 28 equals 48. So we just figured out, and I'm going to write this right in the shape, right inside the hexagon shape, that the perimeter, or P, equals 48 centimeters. It's really important that you remember the unit. Awesome. We figured this out because we added all 6 sides of the hexagon together because the perimeter is the distance around a shape. We're going to practice this now with some more shapes that are not quadrilaterals. That means shapes that have more or less actually than 4 sides. So let's take a look at the first one. We have to find the perimeter of all of these shapes. So this first one is asking us to find the perimeter of this shape. The very first thing I'm going to do is figure out how many sides it has, and I'm going to do that by marking it. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is a 7-sided object, and I'm going to zoom into it a little bit more so you guys can see it better. This is a 7-sided object, okay? So 7 sides. Definitely, you'll always want to figure out how many sides you're talking about. So because it has 7 sides, I need to add up all 7 measurements of this shape. So that means I need to write out a number sentence. So I think what I'm going to do here, no, I'm going to do this. It's fine. I just want to make sure you guys can see the work that I'm doing, okay? And I know it seems smaller on my paper than it does on yours. I'm going to write out all of my measurements. And remember, figuring out the perimeter is the distance around the shape. So I'm going to start, this is going to be my starting point, and I'm going to go this way. So my first side measures 6 feet. My second side measures 2 feet. Third side measures 11 feet. And then 5 feet. And then 8 feet. And then 16 feet. And then 3 feet. So if I did this correctly, I should have 7 sides here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I do. So I have to add up all 7 sides to figure out the distance around. Now I'm going to rearrange this number sentence so that my biggest numbers come first. So that would be 16 plus 11 plus 8 plus 6 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 equals something. Now, I don't have any doubles facts in this, and that's totally fine. But the next thing that I want to look out for is the ones place. And I want to think about when I'm adding these numbers, will any of these add up to equal a friendly 10? And I do have 2 numbers that if I add them together will equal a friendly 10. And that is 2 and 8. So 2 and 8 equals 10. So now I have 16 plus 11 plus 6 plus 5 plus 3 plus 10. Awesome. There are no other numbers that if I add them together would equal a friendly 10, so I'm just going to take these first 2 numbers and add them together. 16 plus 11. Well, 10 plus 10 is 20, and 6 plus 1 is 7, so 16 plus 11 is 27. Now I'm going to add the next 2 numbers. 6 plus 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. And now I'm going to add my next 2 numbers. 3 plus 10. 3 plus 10 is 13. Awesome. I'm showing you this with mental math. If you would prefer to do base 10 blocks or do a different strategy or just do algorithms or just take 2 numbers at a time, whatever strategy works for you is fine. I'm just showing you a way to do it with mental math because the stronger we can get with mental math, the easier math will be as we get older. So now I'm going to look again in my ones place. Can I add any of these numbers together to make a friendly 10? Hopefully you know that 7 and 3 make 10. So if I add 13 and 27, that's going to give me a friendly 10. 20 plus 10 is 30. 7 plus 3 is 10. 30 and 10 make 40. And then I have 11 more to add. That equals 51. So we just figured out that the perimeter of this shape is 51 feet. And we did that by adding up all 7 sides. Awesome. I am going to fold this paper in half because I don't have a ton of space underneath these shapes. And what I'm going to do is use my whiteboard here to solve the following problems. So let's take a look. It has a number here, 13, problem 13. Let's figure out the perimeter of this shape. Remember, we talked about the very first thing we need to do is figure out how many sides the shape has. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. So in order for me to figure out the perimeter, I need to add all 6 sides together. And I'm going to zoom out here, and we will be writing down the lengths of the sides. So if this is my starting point, my first side is 13, my next side is 9, and we're talking about yards in this for this shape. The next side is 4, and then 17, and then 7 and 10. And if I did this correctly, I'm going to have 6 numbers that I added together because I have 6 sides in this shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome. Now, like we've done before, I'm going to rearrange my number sentence so that my biggest numbers come first. So 17 plus 13 plus 10 plus 9 plus 7 plus 4. Awesome. And I still have my 6 sides. So now I'm going to take a look and see if I add any of these numbers together, it'll give me a friendly 10. Well, the very first 2 numbers, if I add them together, will give me a friendly 10. That means a number that ends in 0. 10 plus 10 is 20. 7 plus 3 is 10. 20 plus 10, that's 30. Right there, I took care of my, my 2 largest numbers. And the rest of these numbers I will be adding to it. Awesome. Well, 30 and 10 equals 40. 9 plus 7, what does that equal? 16. And then I have to add 4 more. I want to make sure you guys can see this. Awesome. So I have 40 plus 16 plus 4. So I've simplified it to get me closer to my answer. Well, I know if I add 16 and 4 together, that's going to give me a friendly 10 because 6 and 4 make 10. So 10 plus 6 plus, so 6 and 4 make 10, and then 10 more make 20. So now I have 40 plus 20, and that equals 60. So we just figured out this 6-sided shape. A 6-sided shape is called a hexagon. The perimeter of it is 60 yards. And the way that we figured that out is we added all of the yards. We added all of the sides up together. Awesome. Let me erase this. And we're going to do our last shape. This last shape, remember the very first thing, I'm going to zoom in again here. The very first thing that you need to do whenever you're figuring out perimeter is you need to figure out how many sides this shape has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, a 5-sided shape. So because this shape has 5 sides, it's called a pentagon. And so I need to add all 5 of these sides together to figure out the perimeter, because the perimeter is the distance around the shape. So I'm going to use my whiteboard here to solve this. So I need to write down my measurements. So I'm going to start here. That's my starting point, and I'm going to go this way. So my first side measures 18. Actually, sorry. I want to make sure I have enough space to solve it. So my first side is 18. My second side is 8. My third side is 14. My fourth side is 3. And my largest side, which happens to be my last side, is 20. And we're talking about inches here. So now I'm going to rearrange this number sentence so that my largest numbers come first. So that would be 20 plus 18 plus 14 plus 8 plus 3. Still have my 5 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just rearranged the number sentence so that the largest number comes first. When I take a look at my ones place, I cannot make a friendly 10 with any of these numbers. So I'm just going to start with my first 2 numbers, 20 and 18. 20 plus 10 equals 30, and 8 more equals 38. Okay? Now I'm going to do 14 plus 8. Well, 14 plus 8 means 10, and then you add your 1. So 4 plus 8 equals 12, plus 10 equals 22, and then I have 3. One thing that I'm noticing here is my ones place. 8 and 2, that's going to give me a friendly number. Friendly numbers make adding so much easier. So let's add 38 and 22 together. 30 plus 20, well, that's 50. 8 plus 2 is 10. 50 plus 10 equals 60. And then I'm adding 3 more. So 60 plus 3 equals 63. And that right there is your perimeter. So we just figured out, oopsie. We just figured out that the perimeter of this pentagon is 63 inches. Awesome. This takes a lot of work, especially when you're dealing with shapes that are not quadrilaterals, because you might have to add more than one side together. So right now, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this problem. This next problem is what I want you to solve by yourself. There we go. Question 2. It says, an octagon has 8 sides that are all the same length. That's really important. 8 sides that are all the same length. If each side is 3 inches, what is the perimeter of the octagon? Solve and write a solution sentence. Don't worry about the solution sentence. I just want to see you write your answer with your label. So go ahead and figure out the perimeter, which is the distance around the octagon. Go ahead. All right, hopefully you've had some time to do this problem. I'm going to show you this problem here on my board. Grab this. All right, an octagon, as it says in the problem, is a shape that has 7 sides. It's 7 sides. It has 8 sides. So I'm going to do my best to draw this octagon. Okay, not the best, but it has 8 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in this problem, I also was told that each side was the same length, and that's 3 inches. So I'm going to label this with 3 inches and just 3s all around. And we know that if we're solving to figure out the perimeter of this shape, that means we're figuring out the total distance around the shape. So I would add up all 8 sides. So that means I would add 8 groups of 3. Some of you might have written a multiplication number sentence to match, which is totally fine. Some of you might have done this repeated addition number sentence to match. That's fine. The perimeter of this equal octagon, an octagon that has the same length for every side, would represent 8 groups of 3, because the octagon has 8 sides and they're all 3 inches long. But this number sentence is totally fine, and it's been what we've been practicing solving with. So we're going to add all our 3's together. 3 plus 3, 6. 3 plus 3, 6. 3 plus 3, 6. And 3 plus 3 is 6. Now we're going to add our 6's. 6 plus 6, 12. Oops, added a couple addition signs here. 6 plus 6, 12. Awesome. Now, 12 plus 12, 24. So, this octagon has a perimeter P equals 24 inches. Really important that you include the label. So the total distance around here is 24 inches. For your exit ticket today, you're going to be practicing exactly what we were doing together. That means you're going to be practicing figuring out the perimeter, or the distance around these shapes that are not quadrilaterals. And remember, when we're talking about perimeter, we're talking about the distance around a shape or object, and to figure out the perimeter, you have to add up all of the sides. So the very first thing you should do is make sure you know and label how many sides there are in that shape, and then add up all of the measurements. Awesome. Next week, when we come back for the first 2 days, we are going to spend a lot more time talking about perimeter. If you have any questions at all about what we did today in the video, or you're confused about perimeter, please reach out to your teachers. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you on Monday with our next video.